Wakabi. I work with OSHA Secretariat and I do monitoring and evaluation. I'm based in Kampala, but working in 7 countries, including Cameroon. Now, one can ask, why is e-learning coming up in one case? And during the first phase of OSHA, there was the e-learning came up as a very strong strategy for sharing information and teaching materials. And then it was also looked at as something that was going to aid learning about one case. And because of this, during year 2, I mean the first year planning of the one case workforce, which is the need, it was felt that, okay, before the one case workforce project could go ahead and support e-learning activities, there was need to find out whether and how this should be supported. Now, looking at what took place during the first phase, there was quite a substantial investment in e-learning. Part of it included procurement and installation of e-learning equipment, a lot of servers and then software, video conferencing equipment, and other infrastructure like at the University of Rwanda Polytechnic, there was installation of fiber optics. And then there was also training of IT staff, both in USA, regional workshop, and then in country. Then there was also training of students and the faculty in different countries. And there was also a lot of technical support that was provided mainly by Tufts University. Now, we carried out an assessment, and the primary objective was to understand whether and how the one case workforce would support and invest in online education. And then there was some main objectives to determine the current online usage at the institutions, and then to generate data on how the one case workforce would best support. Now, this assessment was conducted by staff, by M&E team from University of Minnesota, Tufts University, and then it involved holding some discussions with the university administrators, including deans, and in some cases, even vice chancellors, faculty, IT staff, and even students. And there was also observation of the infrastructure at those institutions. And these are the institutions that were covered. There were 7 institutions from 5 countries. So these are some of our findings. There was general consensus. All institutions visited agreed that there was a need for e-learning, and a number of reasons were being advanced. One, that it would decongest the classrooms, it would enable faculty to have more time to do research and do community outreach, and that it was the way to go. University would be looked at as trendsetters, and there's a very enthusiastic student population. The students are very enthusiastic about e-learning, as you can see them there. They look full of energy and ready to go. And there was a very bit of some IT infrastructure. I must say that in every institution we visited, save for McKinney, Tufts University was involved in assisting and making sure there is IT infrastructure in those institutions, which is very commendable. Now, there were some challenges. Some of them include inadequate infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms for computers for both faculty and students were inadequate. And McKinney was the only university we visited where faculty are given computers by the universities, laptops. In all the other universities, either laptops are procured by projects or in some cases by faculty through their own savings. Then internet connectivity was also very poor, and in some cases there were also very few access points. Then there are power blackouts. I think this region has a problem with power blackouts. It's not very common that maybe the country can spend, or the institutions can spend more than a week without having power interruptions. And then there was also lack of online learning instructional designers. And there was also a problem of parallel e-learning systems. One of the institutions actually had 3 parallel e-learning systems that were expected to be used by students and faculty. Now, there was also low awareness and knowledge of existing tools. In some cases, a number of faculties also had low knowledge regarding the features of the systems, and there was very minimal use of the e-learning platforms that were in existence. In some cases, in one of the institutions, I think there was none. They were not posting any materials on the system. In some cases, there were very few cases of posting of the materials. And primarily, these platforms were being used as repository for learning for materials. Then most of the students interviewed had either never used or even learned. They even didn't know about e-learning platforms. Now, there was very low enthusiasm by faculty and on embracing e-learning. And some of the reasons were the poor infrastructure. Faculty would say, okay, why should I post materials on the network when I know the students don't have computers to access the materials, or when the internet is very poor. Then there was also the concern about time of converting their materials into e-learning format. And then there was also motivation and incentive. A number of, especially the senior professors, I would say I've been teaching maybe for the last 30 years, using my paper and the job. And my students have been understanding, so why should I invest time into this e-learning? Then there was also copyright issues. People were saying, okay, now if we develop these materials, put them out there, who is going to own the materials? Or what if someone goes and copies or takes my materials and own it? Then there was, in one of the cases, opportunity cost. Some faculty were selling the hard copies. So they would produce hard copies that students would buy. So they looked at if they would go into e-learning, this would like kind of jeopardize their source of income. Now there was also no e-learning frameworks in some cases, institutions or policy, and then the training was not well focused. Some of the recommendations for the universities, I think there's need to address the supportive infrastructure needs, and then there's also need to create awareness and also to train both the students and the faculty. And then this training should be well targeted and not done as one off, because in a number of institutions, training was done only once, but each year new students come on board. And even that training that was done at once, in some cases you find that the people who are trained perhaps were not the appropriate persons. And then there's also need to identify champions and also recognize and mentor them. And then there was also need to come up with a framework or clear goals for e-learning. Now for the One Place Workforce project, I think the project could support with e-learning instructional designer skill development and also support the conversion of course materials into e-learning format. We are also proposing that perhaps the One Place Workforce could incentivize or recognize e-learning from champions. For instance, by way of providing research grants and maybe supporting conference attendance, and like maybe if people they have done some work around e-learning which they need to showcase. Now in conclusion, although there is a general argument of the need for e-learning across universities, there is no supporting investment in terms of infrastructure and policies. The utilization of e-learning platform is still very low, and to ensure sustainability of One Place Workforce efforts to support e-learning, these efforts should be geared to strengthening existing e-learning initiatives rather than coming up with parallel systems. Thank you very much for listening.